I'm Srishti, a cloud support engineer here at the AWS office in Bangalore. Today I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot the error messages that occur with API calls in Amazon Elastic Container Service. Let's get started. When an API call fails in Amazon ECS, you'll receive an error code that can help identify the issue. Let's go over these error codes and how you can resolve them. The access denied exception error occurs when the AWS identity and access management user or role doesn't have the required permissions to perform the API action. To resolve this error, open the IAM console, select the user or role, and then attach the missing permissions to their policy. For example, if the error is for the create cluster API, then you can add the ECS create cluster permissions. If the API call references an invalid or non-existent resource, for example an invalid task definition name, then you receive the client exception error. To resolve, make sure that you correctly reference the resources in your command or code. If you receive the cluster not found exception error, then the cluster that you specified in the API call doesn't exist. To list all your ECS clusters, run the list clusters AWS command line interface command and include your AWS region. Then verify that you correctly spelled the cluster name in your API call. The invalid parameter exception error occurs when you have an invalid parameter in the API call, for example, a non-existent task definition version. Check that all parameters are valid and correctly spelled. If you have a server issue on the AWS side, then you might receive the server exception errors. This error is often temporary. Wait and retry the API call. If it persists, contact AWS support with details. If you try to update a service that's inactive, then you receive the service not active exception error. To verify that the ECS service that you want to update is in your ECS cluster, run the list services AWS CLI command and include the name of your cluster. First, list your services. Then, to check that your service is in the active state, run the describe services command. If you receive the platform task definition incompatibility exception error, then the AWS Fargate platform version doesn't support capabilities that the task definition requires, like binding an Amazon Elastic file system volume on platform version 1.3.0. Verify that the Fargate platform version supports all requirements. If you receive the platform unknown exception error, then you incorrectly specified an unknown or incorrect platform version. Make sure that the Fargate platform version specified in the API call is valid and correctly formatted, like 1.3.0 instead of 1.3. The service not found exception error occurs when the specified service name doesn't exist in the cluster. To resolve, list all of the services again to verify the name. If you try to launch a Fargate task in a region where Fargate doesn't support your container, then you receive the unsupported feature exception error. Verify that you use a supported region for your container. In addition to these API errors, you may receive an HTTP 500 or 503 error from the applications running in your ECS tasks. Review the application logs for the ECS tasks in Amazon CloudWatch logs for relevant errors. So now you know how to troubleshoot errors with API calls in Amazon ECS. Thanks for watching and happy cloud computing from all of us here at AWS.